This program is brought to you by the Kentucky Small Business Development Center in Louisville. We provide the professional expertise, tools, and information necessary to help you make sound business decisions. Thank you to the U.S. Small Business Administration for co-sponsoring our program and to our host organization, the University of Kentucky. Contact us at 502-625-0123 to get started.
Welcome, everybody. How are you today? It's a great Tuesday. I hope you're enjoying this weather. I'm Dave Etkin. I'm the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. And as you just heard, we are one of 13 centers across the state of Kentucky, serving you and serving the small businesses around the state and the nation. And as always, just to make sure that you can hear me and everything's working well, we always want to check out our tech issues. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a toolbar there. And if you don't, just take your cursor and move it down to the bottom. And your toolbar should come up to there. You'll find the chat feature. If you just click on that. And at the very bottom, if you just type in, just say hello and tell us your name and where you're joining us from and that you can hear and see me just fine. We'll just get started. It's always so much fun to see where everybody's joining from and say hello. And I get to see a lot of people that, that we work with that join us. So it's always kind of rewarding. So this is my favorite part of the whole thing. So people are jumping in now. So we have Mark from Versailles and see Ivan. Oh yeah, so tons of people. Erica, Steve from Lexington. Yeah, Sherelle from Louisville. See Joan from Louisville. Yeah, people just popping in. So great to see everybody. And thanks for spending some little time with us here on our Tuesday. As business owners or, looking for different revenue streams and ways to expand your business is always top of mind. I know it is with me. And one way that's you may not have considered and that is moving your business and your service into exporting. That is a really overlooked opportunity a lot of times. And there are ways to do this cost effectively. And one of the ways is to look at the STEP program, the STEP grant program. So we've invited our great friend, Mary NeCamp, who's with the state office, with the state government office. And she's going to tell us a little bit about how to access the program and the benefits. And so Mary, how are you today?
Hi, Dave. Hi,
there
Jane.
We go.
I'm great. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you all today. And it's really a privilege that you're willing to share your lunch hour with me to talk about the STEP grant. So thank you very much.
Yeah. So Mary, you have been so successful with the STEP program. You have helped tons of people really explore exporting, and you've got some great success stories on your belt. So I'm just going to hand it over to you. Let's get started and really dig in here. So off to you, Mary. So take it from here.
Thanks, David. Okay. Again, my name is Mary NeCamp, and I work at the Cabinet for Economic Development. It is a state government office, as Dave mentioned, and we're located in Frankfort. I am a team member of the KY Innovation. So that's the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. I would like to talk to you today about one of the best kept secrets that Kentucky has in my mind, because it is a reimbursement grant program. And for many small business owners, they are always looking for grants to start their business. And I've been at the Cabinet for Economic Development for over 22 years, and I have yet to find a grant that is exclusive for businesses starting But this grant is for businesses who are looking to scale. So once you're successfully started as a small business and you're ready to make the next phase, the next leap, the STEP grant might be just for you. So we're just going to jump right in and get to the meat of the grant. This is the exciting part because it talks about all the allowable expenses. What can you do with the reimbursement grant? So it's a grant that assists existing and small successful businesses that are either new to exporting or expanding their markets. And you can start shipping to international markets and get reimbursed up to $10,000. That is per a STEP grant year. So what are some of the allowable expenses? So for example, you can learn to export through training workshops. This fall, we are lucky to have 3 vendors in Kentucky. So we've got Exportech, that's through the KYMEP program in Louisville. We've got CITO, which would be a national virtual training for new to exporters. And then, of course, we've got World Trade Center Kentucky. They'll be having their international trade certification program come available in November. And so basically, participants could get reimbursed for training. Some more things that would be reimbursable, and it's the services from the U.S. Commercial Service. Anything that they offer is 100% reimbursable through the STEP program. So that's website globalization review, international partner search, their gold key services, and business to business matchmaking. So it really takes the guesswork out of what market would be the best one for me overseas, what country, what business would be looking to buy my products. So that's just, and they're so reasonable with their cost. So that's another good reason to use the U.S. Commercial Service. There's a program through the federal government called RAISE, and it focuses more on providing opportunities and assistance to our rural communities. The STEP grant can reimburse for website globalization and e-commerce capabilities. So if you need to set up your website so you can take these international orders, we could reimburse you for that. And of course, then there's the design for international marketing products, design of marketing media. We could reimburse for that. And there's more. So things like translations of websites and manuals, even interpreters. If you go on a foreign market sales visit and need an interpreter to help you out with your conversations with a business owner, that can be reimbursed. Compliance, participating in trade show exhibits. So the booth fees could be reimbursed. And as some of you know, getting those booth fees can be really expensive. We can reimburse for the credit insurance premiums and foreign buyer credit reports. Those can be private or those can be through XM Bank. We can reimburse for shipping sample products. Very nice. Subscription to research databases, that would be used for businesses who are looking for international leads. And of course, then there's the foreign market sales visit, and companies can get reimbursed for traveling overseas or even Canada or Mexico for their airfare, for their lodging, for their ground transportation, and even for their meals. So it's just really, like I said, the best kept secret, and it's really a really generous grant. So if all that sounds good to you and you're wondering, well, okay, that's great, but how does it work for me? So why would you want to export? So according to the SBA, 96% of consumers live outside the USA, and 2/3 of the world's purchasing power is in foreign countries. So if you look at those numbers, those are pretty convincing in my mind, why you would want to go outside the United States with your products. And maybe you're comfortable where you're at. Maybe you're not looking to scale your business, but if you want to grow your business, exporting would be the way to go. So the other benefits to exporting is it increases your profits. It reduces your market dependence. Say, for instance, if you're shipping to another state in the United States, or you have one really sound customer, and what happens if that account goes away? Also stabilizing seasonal sales. And of course, businesses that export are more likely to withstand the economic ups and downs. So the answer to all that is the STEP grant, because it provides financial awards to state and territory governments to help small businesses export their products. So this STEP grant is a partnership between the Cabinet for Economic Development and the federal government, the Small Business Administration. So the Small Business Administration provides funding, but so does the cabinet. Here's a testimonial on the STEP grant. So Felt Loom in Sharpsburg, Kentucky. Lynette Freetag has used the STEP grant to do business in international markets. It helped her pay for her compliance testing. And she learned more about business opportunities because she participated in the RAISE program that I told you about, that was specific to assisting companies in rural areas. Here are some statistics. STEP in Kentucky, the program's been around since 2011, and we've helped over 260 Kentucky small businesses. Some of those businesses have participated multiple years. And so far, the STEP applicants have come from 51 of our 120 counties. And we would like to get a STEP company in every Kentucky county over the next 5 years. So again, this is a cooperative agreement between the U.S. Small Business Administration and the state of Kentucky to administer these funds. So who can help? Who can STEP funds help? Okay, so for starters, you have to be an eligible, export-ready, Kentucky-based small to mid-sized business interested in exporting your products. You have to have something to export. I have had people contact me before, but they might not have a service or product that is exportable. And again, our doors are open to all communities and all business owners. So is your business eligible for STEP? So again, you have to be based, headquartered, controlled in Kentucky. You have to have been in business for at least 1 year. You have to be export ready versus export capable. And by that, I mean, it's not just enough to say, oh, I have 10 people working here, of course we can export. It's like being build ready. You have to have the groundwork laid so you can have sufficient resources to export. This one is important. You have to have a product or service that has at least 51% US content. And you might need to think about that, but there is a formula to calculate that if you need help. So you need to also be considered a small to mid-sized business. So how would you figure that out? Well, you can use your NAICS code, and you can plug it into the size standards tool at this website, and it will tell you right there if you're eligible. So we have an example of that in the next slide. So the federal government size standards, I find them to be pretty big, considering when most of us think about a small business, we think of the small family-owned business maybe located down on Main Street in your city. But as you can see here, this example on my right has to do with manufacturing NAICS codes. Anything with a 3.1, a 3.2, or a 3.3 is a manufacturing NAICS code. So you can just see, for example, here, that's measured by number of employees. And look how many employees can still be, considered a small business. In some cases, over 1,000. Now, if you have a business that's more of a service, you can recognize some of these NAICS codes as being more service related, you can see that the federal government measures its size standards of a small business by revenue. And this is the average revenue, I believe, over 3 years. So again, over millions of dollars. So I think it's pretty generous. The grant's generous, the size standards are generous. And let's just continue on here and see if this is a good fit for you. So with the STEP grant, it is more than just I turn in an allowable expense and I get reimbursed for it. We really want this to work for businesses, to get them to not be dependent on the STEP grant. And the STEP grant is to help them. It's not something that's a crutch for life. We do have our companies graduate after a certain number of years, and certain dollar amount of reimbursement has been made. So in order to be a success, we want to do things right. And to do things right, you got to start out with a business plan that includes exporting. You have to know what your goals are, know where you're going. Participate in export training. I mentioned those training options that are going to be coming up this fall. And you can receive technical and strategic recommendations for e-commerce sales through the U.S. Department of Commerce. You can adapt an existing website for your international audience. If you think about that, that's, it could cost you as much as $10,000 to have your website revamped. That's just guessing. It's usually less than 10,000 on those that I've seen, but it could cost you a lot of money to get your website ready for an international audience. But if you think about that, it's running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, generating business for you. If your company has been, gone through the search engine optimization so that when a company in France, for instance, Googles your product in the United States, it comes up pretty easily. And again, designing, creating, producing international marketing material and media. Those would be some of the first things that we would want our small businesses who are participating in the STEP program to be involved with. So when can you apply for the STEP grant and how could you get reimbursed? So you can apply for the STEP grant when you have a plan and you're ready to go into the foreign markets. The application is a rolling application. So you can email me, mary.necamp@ky.gov to get a copy of the application, or I believe Dave will be sending out some follow-up information after the program, and we'll attach those application forms to the email. So how does it work? Once you apply to the program and you're admitted into the STEP program, you're going to receive an award letter that states the limit amount you can potentially use on export development activities. And these activities were the ones that we first reviewed when we started talking today. And those allowable expenses are defined by the Small Business Administration. Certain activities such as travel need to be pre-approved. And basically what you do then is you perform the activities within the time frame of the grant period, and it's a reimbursement grant. So you would submit for reimbursement and get your funds. We have a great group of businesses, or not businesses, but agencies rather, that participate in the Kentucky Export Initiative. And the Kentucky Export Initiative is a group of businesses, or I keep saying businesses, agencies that are resources for all of the exporters in Kentucky. So here are just a few logos of those that are involved. Of course, we have the Export-Import Bank of the United States over here on the left. They provide the credit insurance premiums for our exporters, and you can get 100% reimbursed for this activity. We've got the Kentucky Proud. They assist with our food and beverage exports, and they also run their own export program called SUSTA. We've got the District Export Council, they're advocating on behalf of exporters. The Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, of course, is always one of our advocates, as well as the Kentucky Association of Economic Development. We've got the U.S. Commercial Service. You heard me mention them this morning. You've heard of the group SCORE. It's a group of volunteers that help small business owners. Of course, our wonderful host today, the Small Business Development Center, and they can help you create a business plan that includes international exporting. And our wonderful partners, the SBA, Small Business Administration, SIDO, the State International Development Organization, is another group that offers new to export training. We've got the World Trade Center Kentucky offering the International Trade Certification program this November, and of course, Kentucky Association of Manufacturers. This is not a comprehensive list of all of our partners that help, but certainly if you come through us to get the STEP grant, you will have a whole resource full of, or a whole library full of resources and assistance available to you. I mentioned earlier that I work in KY Innovation at the Cabinet for Economic Development. And together with my colleagues, we're always networking and we're trying to identify businesses in the underserved communities. I mentioned that we have a goal to get a STEP company in every county in Kentucky. And as you can imagine, some of our more rural counties might not even have heard about the STEP grant before. So we're trying to spread the word, and we have 6 regional hubs as shown here on this map. And the hubs will work to help businesses get started. And that would be like the startup phase. And of course, by the time they get to me, we're the scaling phase. I always say that I'm very proud of the Cabinet for Economic Development and how dedicated it is to serving all business owners and making the STEP grant accessible to anyone who would like to participate. And for instance, this webpage has even been translated to Spanish. I always encourage everyone to make sure that your products are on the plane. We have plenty of airports and plenty of resources to get those products out the door and into international markets. This is just a screenshot of some of my colleagues from the KY Innovation team. You may see some familiar faces here. And the mission of KY Innovation is to enable a sustainable and active entrepreneurial ecosystem throughout Kentucky. So we're working with all phases of a small business ecosystem. So if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them. And here's my contact information.
Thank you, Mary. Mary, that was pretty intense stuff there. So let me ask you a basic question. And again, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat there, and I'll throw them over to Mary. But so Mary, just say I'm just running a business. How do I know that what I have or what I do would be appropriate for exporting?
That's a terrific question. So for the most part, anything that any exportable product or service would qualify for STEP, but there are some exceptions to that rule. So things like education, a service that, I'm trying to think here. There are some services that are not exportable, as you can imagine. For instance, tourism, there is a very limited amount or a limited way that things could be exported through tourism, as you can imagine. And so we would need to talk about that. Perhaps legal services are not considered an exportable product. Anything that might involve humans, such as even staffing services, or transporting people. We are kind of concerned about that. We always have to be on the have to keep our clients' best interest in mind. So and then of course the 51% US content. your products have to have at least 51% US content. And sometimes that's a challenge for people.
Yeah, and is there a specific process that you have to follow to prove the 51% content of your products?
Well, sometimes business owners will know that. And it's always reassuring when I go out there and do my due diligence on a company and I can see that they have the Made in America flag on their website. And there's a formula if we're not certain. And, we have been known to challenge a few business owners because we might see where some parts have obviously come in from other countries, been imported and maybe assembled, but it's every company is a little bit different, but we're definitely open for business and we want to help our clients as much as possible. The whole idea is to grow Kentucky businesses.
Mhm. So if I'm a consultant, I mean, that's something that I can export my expertise. Is that correct?
We would have to talk.
Okay.
Find out exactly what it is that you're looking to export.
Okay. I'm just thinking here out loud, but I mean, if I'm, selling something I make, a hard product, I mean, that's easy to decide. But if I'm selling a service or I am a service, how do I decide whether that's exportable or not?
Well, we would have to get through the application process, learn a little bit more about your business and decide, do you really have an exportable service? What market are you looking to export your service to? Is this just, a way to get a grant? Because ultimately we want the money to be spent as soon as possible. The grant itself, you'll notice on the application form, it says it's a 2-year grant, but we're always going through and using the funds, and the grant is administered first come, first serve.
Okay. So RPAN asks, can grant be used for extension of intellectual property rights in different countries?
There is a way, yes, to get reimbursed for your patent and your trademark information, if that's the question. We'd have to dig into the details on something like that.
Okay. All right, so we got some questions coming in here.
Oh, and by the way, so for instance, I have had inquiries from small businesses that do things like screen print on t-shirts and, have little novelty items to export. And so something like that is not an exportable product, because I think that most people would know that unless you have an American-made t-shirt that you're screen printing and putting a design on, it's not 51% US content. So
Oh, I see. What would be, I mean, would you give us an example of a company that you would work with that did very well exporting? Tell us a little bit about that.
well, I have worked with a number of companies that have done very well exporting. So say, for instance, my testimony at the beginning of the slideshow, Lynette Freetag from Sharpsburg, Kentucky. She makes looms for felt, and she's gone on to 21 different countries, she said. So we've had a number of businesses who exhibit at trade shows, who set up distributorships in other countries as a result of growing to scale. So we've experienced that. I don't know, every company is a little bit different, but they're all the same in a sense. So just really proud of all of the Kentucky businesses that are out there and all that they're doing to grow their exports.
Here's an example of a question I have. So I was working with these guys who they hand built these little electrical motor models, and some folks from from England happened upon their website somehow and liked it, and so they ordered it. And the company I work with, they just threw it on a FedEx box and tossed it across the ocean there, which in essence is exporting then, right?
Yeah, it could be.
Mhm.
And I guess it depends on if they've got a contract with the company. You know, do they need help with any type of compliance testing? You mentioned those are electrical products. You know, I guess once they want to get into a bigger market over there, I think the
Mhm.
US Commercial Service could help them find some good markets as well and help them with any type of probably anything to do with maybe a tariff or something that might come up that might get in their way, might be a roadblock to exporting.
Yeah.
So,
Mark wants to know if this is a one-time grant.
no, not necessarily. You can participate multiple years. So say, for instance, we're currently working in step year 10. And that started on September the 30th of 2022.
Mhm.
And Kentucky received an award of $400,000 from the Small Business Administration, and it's up to the Cabinet for Economic Development to distribute those funds
Mhm.
appropriately to eligible businesses. So it's like I've said before, it's considered a 2-year grant, but we don't expect our funds to last through 2024. So we've already taken action and applied for our next round of funding, and we should hear something about that in the next few months and be able to let companies in for the next round of funding. So say, for instance, we've got a company who's exhausted its $10,000 for step year 10. If we get another award for year 11, they could potentially participate in that one as well.
Okay. Got a question here. It says, is this program includes restaurant owner who wants to start up a restaurant?
That's a very good question, because that would be another business that would not have anything to export, as we can see. Unless, I mean, if you're like preparing foods in a commercial kitchen and you're looking to export, that might be an exportable product, but you could not export your restaurant.
Mhm. Okay.
Great question.
Yeah. Is there a way to, and I guess I kind of know the answer, but maybe you should just clarify it. But one of the ways to test whether you can find a market for your product or service is to access this grant, to go to these trade shows and things like that in other countries, correct?
Yes. I also mentioned the US Commercial Service and all the offerings that they have to kind of take the guesswork out of testing the markets. So for instance, you know, someone might want to go to Germany, and maybe Germany would not be the best market for your product. Maybe it's actually in Japan or Israel or even Dubai. But we could, you know, try to talk to the US Commercial Service and get their opinion. You know, maybe pay a couple $100 for a service fee, so it's not very expensive to go through them. And then perhaps go on to, you know, you could exhibit at a trade show. If you find out, you know, Germany's your market, or if you find out Dubai's your market, you can go.
Yep, gotcha. Cheryl asks, would cosmetics be eligible for this program?
Do they have 51% US content?
There we go.
Is this something that, you know, you're making? Or is this something that you're importing from another country
Right.
and repackaging? Because if that's the case, then it would not qualify.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, if you have a question out there, now's the time to ask Mary while she's here. So we've had a lot of great questions pop up, and kind of exciting to think about selling your products and services overseas. Mary, do you notice that like product-based companies, when they start exporting, they generally set up distributorships, or do they do direct sales to a country for their customers? They find customers and sell directly to them.
Yeah, they would find customers and sell directly to them, but then at some point they become so successful, they start just using distributorships.
Mhm.
So exclusively for their products.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've thrown a lot at everybody today. The program itself is a fabulous program. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we're all looking for grants to do great things with. And this is really the golden opportunity to take advantage of this if you're at the right point in your business phase to scale and start exporting. So,
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, do you have any other questions? Let's see. Colleen, I'm gonna reach out to you directly on this, on your restaurant startup questions. So just hang tight today, and I'll send you some information, give you a chat. So if we have any other questions, this has been really great, and I really appreciate you coming. So, Mary, you've done such great things with Kentucky's businesses, getting them to sell and outside of the country, and it's a great economic boost for Kentucky. So thanks for doing what you do. You've been doing it for a while, and you've been great at it. So really appreciate everything.
well, thank you, Dave. I'm honored, and I really appreciate you letting me use your platform today to talk about such a great program. And again, really appreciate everybody who's taken time out of their lunch hour to listen to more about what the state can offer through the State Trade Expansion Program.
Yeah, thank you. Well, everybody, so later on today, maybe tomorrow, we get a little busy sometimes, we'll send out these slides to you, and we'll have Mary's contact info. Well, you'll also get a recording of this, so you can watch it over and over again. And then Mary will provide some other tools and application forms for you, so you can access this program and talk to Mary. Mary is a great resource. Please feel free to reach out to her directly. She's a person you need to know. And as everybody, small business owner knows, it's kind of who you know sometimes. And Mary is one of those people that you need to know. So Mary, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And thanks everybody for joining us for another Toolkit Tuesday. And we'll see you on our next Toolkit Tuesday. Take care and enjoy your day today.
Bye, everybody.